Hello, my name is Victoria Malta, and this is You and Your Mental Wellness. Tonight we have a guest, Dave Tolles. He's a person in recovery from co-occurring disorder of mental health issues and substance use issues. And he's also a student at Southern Connecticut State University, and he also has a job that he's held for the past 11 years. And I'm really glad to have you on the show. And
well, thank you, Vicki. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, I've known you quite a while now.
Yes.
We've kind of traveled in similar circles.
Yes, we have quite a lot of years.
Yeah, all getting older too.
Unfortunately, but I guess that comes with the territory.
Yeah. So I wanted to first ask you. You began experiencing mental health challenges when you were a young man.
Yes.
And what was your life like at the time?
Well, I was a student, either a high school student or a university student, and I noticed things weren't quite right. Of course, I was abusing substances at the time, too. So this sort of became like in a cauldron, and, sort of had to come to fruition in hospital.
Right. Did you know what was going on with you? Did you know anything about what mental illness or anything like that was at the time? Or
no, I just thought I had smoked too much cannabis, and but I didn't realize the repercussions of doing that would, give me, mental symptoms.
Right.
And, I had no idea.
Right.
And, it wasn't until I was hospitalized at the age of 19 that the education part of it sort of came together, learning about the illness, and of course halting the substance abuse.
Now, was this kind of like a, you said it happened when you were 19 years old, so what was the time frame between when you first started having these issues and then realizing you had to go to the hospital? Was there someone that helped you along the way, like your family?
My family. I was exhibiting some bizarre behavior at home from a spring break, and they were concerned and got me to help. And but I mean, it started, as a high school student, not exactly fitting in, and maybe hearing things that weren't necessarily there. And so, of course, substances on top of that is not a good mix.
Right. So I have a lot of questions to ask you, and I'm going to be moving around a lot, but I wanted to ask you about your family, because you told me that family is very important.
Yes.
To recovery.
Absolutely.
And so was your family on board from the very beginning to help you? And
yes, I was treated very specially, fortunately. Got the good treatment, even though I was not compliant, some of the time by, going back to substances. But they were always on my side and always made sure that, I got treatment.
Great. Did they learn anything about, like, did they ever go to NAMI, National Alliance on Mental Illness, to learn about mental illness, or how did they
Well, I think my father's a very curious guy, and I think he might have studied a little on the side about mental problems and substance abuse, and but as we went along, as I went along in this process, we learned a lot, from either the therapist or the facility where we were at, or, anybody in the, recovery field.
And so during this time, you didn't really experience a lot of losses, right? At least in terms of your family.
Well, I lost my college education, and it sort of, my family, was hurt by my, sort of craziness. And,
right.
So.
There are losses.
Yes.
Did you have before? We all have dreams and goals, and I want to cover later on about what you're doing with your life and how you're really achieving some and really important goals and dreams, but did you ever have to go through a period where you kind of mourned the loss of maybe who you might have been? Or because you talk about, I remember one thing you said was that you're rediscovering yourself despite your limitations.
This is true. Taken a long time, but you know, with the best therapy I could get, the best medication I could get, I'm on the right track.
That's great. That's great. And do you think that a lot of things have happened, have changed in treatment modalities, like since, because we both, because for me, I am, when I started out, this was in the 80s for me, and there were a lot of things that were not helping me at the time with the medications and things like that. Did you find that too, or?
Well, I came along in the early 70s. By that I mean, you know, you had Thorazine, you had Haldol, and those are very deadening. Although there is a purpose to them, they're very deadening medications. And by that I mean, you know, it cuts down your affect, you're slowed down. I had to wait really almost 30 years before Abilify came along, which is a very enlivening medication for somebody that suffers from schizophrenia, as I do. And it's been a good medication for me.
Was it like waking up in a way? Because I don't talk about myself a lot, but I do want to say that around that time they had these antipsychotic medications which transformed the way people could function and things like that. Because you're right, the medications they had before were, you were like a zombie. You couldn't
like
do
a
anything.
zombie,
You couldn't think. You couldn't remember. You know, things like that.
The Thorazine shuffle, they used to call it.
Right.
I can recall being on wards and seeing exactly that. And, you know, but today, if anybody, you know, is young and experiencing as I did, you know, there are a lot of good, you know, medications out there that can help.
Right. Now, you said there were, in terms of treatment, there were other things too that helped you. Were there certain therapists or doctors along the way, or other people in recovery that you could connect with and relate to along the way?
Sure. I mean, I joined self-help groups and, you know, met a lot of people with the same or almost the same problem, pretty much the same. But, you know, doctors, therapists, social workers, psychologists were all there for me. And I did avail myself to them once I decided that I had better not use substances anymore.
Right, right. So that's like a double whammy, because you had to fight both of those things, and so you have a lot of courage. You know, you have a lot of strength and courage.
Well, I like to think so, but you know, it's either that or the highway, I guess.
Well,
you know, but
another thing too that I noticed is that you're not afraid to ask for help and support, and I've always thought that trying to get help for something is a sign of courage and wellness, wanting to get and strength to get help, ask for help from people. And in this country, there's so much emphasis on doing it all on your own, and it's not working for a lot of people.
As long as you're able to ask for help. Not everyone in the incipient, you know, stages of an illness is able to do that, especially mental illness. They are not, some aren't able to, you know, ask for help. They don't know how or why, or as it was in my case. And so, you know, it gets better as it goes on.
Right. Well, not to everybody. You're someone who's a success story. You know, that's I hope that you can offer hope to people who are watching. You know, that you can get better and get on with your life. And
I try to. You know, I make that a specific point in my daily endeavors to, you know, help other people that, you know, maybe in the same boat.
Right.
Or, you know.
Now, did it take a long time to accept that you, I mean, was it a long journey of recovery? I mean, and it's an ongoing journey too, right?
It really is. There's no cure for this disease, and I've been very fortunate, you know. Even though it happened to me at age 19, you know, the unsuccessful stories, you know, you can see, you know, on the streets of New Haven or the back wards of CVH, or, you know, where it just did not work out as one might have hoped.
Mm-hmm. And I'm trying to, let me just, so how has your life changed in recovery, and what helped you and what hurt you in your recovery?
Well, I was able to go back to work. I was able to pursue my education again, even at this late stage of the game.
Right.
And that feels good, you know, to sort of pick up where you left off, because, you know, I can.
Right.
And because of, you know, the medications and the treatment, and but yeah, I carry on, no doubt about it.
Do you feel like it's like a second chance at life? And that's great. So what were there things that got in the way of your recovery, you think?
Well, sure, you know, substances and alcohol certainly are a deterrent to anybody who is afflicted with a mental condition.
Mm-hmm.
And best to stay away from those things.
Right.
If you want any chance to, you know, have a better life.
Yeah, yeah. So, do you feel like kind of recovery is an inside job where you have to really look inside yourself and see, you know, get to know yourself?
It's inside and outside. You know, you have to have the help of the outside to repair the inside.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm always cognizant of that.
Right.
I'm grateful for the help I have received and how to apply it to my life, and it works.
That's great. Now you told me when we met last time that working has helped you and a lot in your recovery. So what are some of the kind of jobs that you've had in your life, and how has it helped you?
Oh my goodness. I started out as a shipping clerk because my father told me to. And then I actually got into selling auto parts in the 80s here in New Haven. And, you know, right now I'm working at a fair trade store in New Haven.
That's great.
And I think work is important as long as, you know, the client is able to. You know, it may take a few steps, but to have something outside of yourself to, you know, grasp onto,
Right.
I think is a good thing.
Have you, when you were getting these jobs, did you have to hold back on your, because a lot of people are afraid to say, you know, like, what do I do in an interview? And they ask me, like, lapses in time, and do you disclose or don't you disclose? And did you ever have a problem with that, or?
You can always fudge it as far as lapses in time are concerned. But I would say, you know, in my most recent job, I did disclose because I came to that job by a program. And so I wanted to be as honest as I possibly could be, but in other jobs I didn't.
Right.
And, you know, but word gets out, you know, things happen, and sometimes we have to just live with the consequences.
So that just brings me into asking you about stigma too.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think much has changed in the public's attitudes toward people with mental health or substance abuse or anything like that?
I think we're all laboring under terrible stereotypes. Yes, there are the bad things that happen to people who are afflicted and maybe how they, relate to their society, but, it's stereotypes are there, and stigma certainly is there. And hopefully, maybe just by facing this camera, I can, assuage some of those stereotypes and stigmas.
Right, because I would say that the vast majority of people, I wrote an article and I wrote a letter to the editor, and it was in the New Haven Register about how the vast majority of people with mental health issues just want to love and be loved, to work and be independent. And the media just portrays these people who try to get off on saying that they're insane and that's an excuse for them to kill somebody or whatever. I think people, even when they're ill, they know right from wrong. That's just my personal opinion. Mm-hmm. But I guess what I'm trying to say is that most people, would you say that most people that you know, other peers and people in recovery, are just people that just want the same things as anybody else?
Just to get on with their lives and have the best possible life possible.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes work, no getting away from it, and support of other people. And, it's a terrible thing, yes, to have a mental illness, but there are ways out. And,
right.
I'm glad to say.
So you don't define yourself by your mental illness?
Oh, God, no. Absolutely not. Oh, no. I mean, I have fun with it on occasions even. But, no, it's part of who I am, but not all of who I am.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you, why don't you just tell me a little bit about what you're doing in your life now? I know you mentioned that you're in school and you're working. You want to say a little bit more about that, about what you're...
Well, I would like to become a social worker, and hopefully I will apply to the social work department at Southern and get in and take courses. And, if not that, then some other major. Mm-hmm. I'm officially now a junior at Southern, so it's about time to concentrate on something, which I never could before because of the illness. Concentration was always difficult, and especially in those early days in college,
Well, do you feel like you have your life back? You're getting your life back? You're reclaiming it.
Yes.
You're reclaiming your life.
Yes.
And it took many years, but you're doing it. So I mean, so tell me about the classes that you're taking and.
Well, I'm just taking a sort of an introductory social work course, one course at a time. I do have a job, and so the thing for me is not to overload myself.
That's a big thing.
Yeah, because stress is, for anybody, can be problematic.
Right.
Especially for people that have had problems in the past. That might.
It can really get in the way of functioning and things like that. But I think you have. So you're doing that, and your goal is to get your bachelor's degree in social work.
Yeah.
And then tell me about your job a little bit, because it's a really interesting job.
Well, I work at the Fair Trade store in New Haven. We sell handmade objects from artisans in developing countries around the world, 38 countries, developing countries around the world, Asia, South America, Africa, and the Middle East. And I've been there 11 years. I do it all.
Wow.
From cashiering to stock work, customer service, anything that goes along with store proprietorship, and it's been good.
So you feel like you have, do you feel like you have a good balance in your life right now with school, work, and then seeking support from your different places that help you? And
Absolutely, absolutely.
and how about friendships and things like that?
Very important. I have a circle of friends, not many, but you know, intimate friends that you know, are part of my daily life, and I can turn to have a laugh or discuss something, and you know, that's very important. You know,
Yeah.
humor is very important to me. I couldn't have gotten through this without humor.
Right, yeah, that's very, I feel the same way too. And so what are some of the things that you like to do outside of school and work? What are some of the things that you enjoy doing?
Well, you know, I don't really have any hobbies to speak of. Just getting on with daily living, you know, I think is enough of a challenge that, you know, keeps me going.
Right, right. Well, you've got a full plate.
Yeah.
I don't know how much time we have left, but anyway, there were some other things that I wanted to ask you. Now, you said that you have an internship at a social service agency too. So so you're doing that also on top
Yes.
of this class and the job. And so, is this something that you are required to do for your class?
Yes, yes, it is. I'm required to do an internship as part of the course I'm taking. And I managed to find an agency here in New Haven where I could donate a certain amount of hours a week, a semester, and learn about the agency, report on it, and you know, so
How often do you do it?
I try to give them a couple hours a week, but it'll be more as the semester goes on as I try to fulfill the hourly requirements.
So you must feel like you really want to help and give back to other people who've been through difficult times, and
Yes,
if that's that's why you want to get into social work, so you could give back and help
Right.
people. And
right.
that's
Absolutely. That's very important, for me anyway, to give it back. And, you know, I'll always be grateful for the help I've gotten. And it helps me go on with my life.
right, right. So you just right now you're taking one day at a time, and it's also very important, if you agree, to be focused too.
Yes.
Because people tend to be scattered all over the place sometimes. Like they
can be,
they say like, I want to do this and I want to do that and that and that, and they end up like going nowhere.
First things first, you know, and that usually works. You know, and if you can't, you know, do one thing, try another. But yeah, it all works.
Well, I wanted to. We have a few minutes left, and I know that you said that your future hope and dream is to finish college.
Yes.
And then, do you want to go on to get your master's degree, or do you want to work as a social worker in
I
New
think-
Haven? or-
Yes, yes, I would. You know, I would like to do that, sure. Yeah.
So that's exciting. Well, let me just look through. I just want to make sure that I asked you all the questions. So I wanted to ask you, when you're stressed or challenged, I asked you that. You turn to other people.
Yeah.
That's how you get feedback and help in coping with things that are hard and difficult. So the last thing I wanted to ask you was that what would you like to say to people who are watching and struggling with inner challenges, young people or family members or providers? Because this is people will be watching from all over Connecticut and beyond, and the audience is people in recovery, and people who are just starting out on their journey, and people who help other people with their recovery, and anybody else who wants to learn more about it. So just to close this off, I'll just give you a few minutes to think about what you would like to say to someone out there who doesn't seem to have a lot of hope and who's struggling and really wants to hear from someone who's on the other side now.
It can be done, just stick with it, do the next right thing, and it'll come together.
Mm-hmm. And never give up.
Right.
That's I remember something my dad told me. He said when I was struggling, he said sometimes we have thoughts about wanting to escape and hurt ourselves and things like that. And my dad said suicide is like a permanent solution to a temporary problem.
Right.
And it's really important to realize that things pass all the time and change, and I know I hope you believe the same thing too.
I sure do, Vicki. I really do.
That's great. Well, it was really good to talk to you, Dave, and I just wanted to thank you so much for being on the show, and I want to thank Jeff Hansen for doing the production, and Abigail White for running the studio, and I want to thank the audience. And if you know of anybody that would like to be on the show to tell their story or anything else, any ideas or feedback, you can access me online, Facebook, You and Your Mental Wellness Facebook, or You and Your Mental Wellness YouTube. So feel free to contact me, and I'll see you next month. Thanks.
Thanks, Vicki.